Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another session of R and R, that time on the Saturday morning when you can just relax and listen to us share our own version of what makes us tick through a book, a film, or a song. So I'm Jill.
And I'm Phil.
And together we are Jill and
Phil. We nailed it. It's quite sad how smug I feel when we nail it.
I know, and we didn't even talk about that bit. No, but I was assertive and strong, wasn't I? Yeah, anyway. So a book, a film, and a song. So Phil is going to introduce the book that he would like to recommend us all. And as usual, it's another tome. Over to you, Phil.
It's shorter than the last couple. It's called Blood of the Martyrs by Lee Churchill.
Oh, that looks like a light read.
It is a little, so what this is Lee Churchill he originally planned to do a 4-volume church history, but I've only got 1 and 2 because number 3 I can only find in Braille, and number 4 he hasn't got around to writing yet. But he's going through the history of the church, but he's doing it kind of as a story, kind of as a narrative. And so he just takes through the different characters and tells the characters' stories and kind of weaves them together. So it's a really great book if you watch Stuart doing morning prayer and you want to get the Saint of the Week right, or Saint of the Day right when he does it. So I was feeling quite smug because I got it right Tuesday this week, and that's because I'd read about him in this book. So if you want to beat Stuart at Name That Saint, this is a good place to start. But yeah, what I love about this book is it picks up after the end of Acts. So especially having done the Bible course this week, where we looked at Acts and the story of the church, this is kind of the next chapter of the story of the church after Acts. And it's really, I just found that really exciting when I read it. And to see that these miracles and these great stories that we read in Acts carried on. It's not like the Bible ended and the church ceased to be interesting and exciting stuff ceased to happen. The story of the church, the story of God, kept going on after Acts. And so Blood of the Martyrs is a really, it's not like, because it's telling you the proper story, but it's not an in-depth historical tone. It's a story that's accurate and woven together and perfectly readable. So I recommend this.
So the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church, isn't it? It's how the church grows in times of persecution. Yeah. Do you know who said that?
Tertullian.
Tertullian. That's right.
Which he'll presumably be in here somewhere. But yeah, it's what he's done is with the titles of his, because it is a series, not that he's finished it, and I bought this 20 years ago, but it's he kind of gives the eras he's talking about a theme. So this is the early church. It goes up to 397 AD, and he's sort of saying actually the blood of the martyrs, the persecution initially by the Jews and then by the Romans. That's really what he's thinking about here and sharing with us those saints, those people that were part of that and the church growing through that. Knowingly, it was the Reformation was one I was really interested in. So I was planning to kind of read them all and get to Reformation, but I could only find that edition in Braille, which I can't read. So I'll have to read some other books about the Reformation.
Okay. Well, shall I recommend my song?
Yes, do.
Which is in stark contrast to your book. So the song I have chosen to recommend you all have a listen to is Here Comes the Sun, and it's the version sung by George Harrison with Paul Simon. So of course it's a Beatles song and it's beautiful little ditty, but I like them singing it on YouTube because there's the camaraderie between Paul Simon and George Harrison. Anyway, Here Comes the Sun. It's such a gentle, beautiful, hopeful song, looking for the future. And I just think at this time, as we come out of a long season of enclosure and, if you like, you know, a certain sort of darkness or formidable or however we say it, we can begin to look forward now to a new beginning again. So I find it, I always like the song anyway, but it's spring, things are getting better, it's a hopeful song, and it's a time of promise. And I think what has kept us going through this whole lockdown season is that we know it's going to end sometime. I mean, where I have got the most down is, you know, the uncertainty of it all and not seeing that it's ever going to finish. But with the vaccination rollout, and, you know, my hope and prayer is that is a international success, you know, that we don't have countries that have been forgotten in that respect. But that has been a huge success story, and it means that we can now have hope, and we can see a lot of good things beginning to happen. So I hope we don't lose some of the lessons we might have learnt through lockdown. But go and have a listen to this and allow your spirit to be cheered up.
Yeah. It's exciting, and the tune is cheerful, isn't it? And like the message, "Here comes the sun," there's an implicit acknowledgement that it wasn't there, but the tune doesn't dwell on the darkness. It just points to the future. So yeah, no, it's
accessible to everyone as well. No, you know, I can't imagine there's very many people who wouldn't like it. So Phil, your film.
My film. So my film is an old film, actually. It's 80s. It might even be 1980, early 80s. It's The Blues Brothers, which I love. I think it's a really funny film. If you've not seen it, I think it's worth a go. It's on Netflix at the moment. So it's a very silly film. The main plot is you've got these two brothers, the Blues Brothers, who were brought up with the hats and the shades. They were brought up in a kind of a Catholic orphanage, and one of them comes out of prison and they have to go back and see the nuns that just because he's out of prison, he has to go back to see the nuns. And they discover that the orphanage is going to be shut unless they can raise £5,000, and the Blues Brothers are kind of criminals, but they end up being convicted that they need to go and raise this £5,000 legitimately by putting on a blues concert. But everything else they do is completely illegal and illegitimate, but this one £5,000 needs to be done legally. And they're convicted that God's told them to do this. So like, we can't fail, we're on a mission from God. And it's just ridiculous. They got the police chasing them, Nazis chasing them. His ex-girlfriend with a rocket launcher is chasing him. It's so silly. I don't think I can give you spoilers because it's that silly. But it's just this idea that there's this whole carnage going on behind them. It's got, at the time, it had the largest ever car pileup in movie history, which was only ever surpassed 30 years later by Blues Brothers 2000. With just these police cars just piling up, and there's get to the end, and they put the check on the counter, they stamp it, received, and they turn around and there's like 3,000 policemen and firemen with fire axes kind of over them, and it finishes with them in prison singing Jailhouse Rock. And it's ridiculous, but there's this sense all the way through the game, we can't fail, we're on a mission from God, and all this ridiculous stuff happens, but all through it, their focus, we're getting this £5,000 legitimately, and we're paying this off, and it happens, and they end up back in jail. It's ridiculous. So part of me is like, should I really be taking too much theology from this because it is that ridiculous? But I'm going to anyway. They have this kind of single tunnel vision that we can't fail, we're on a mission from God, which is actually quite a hopeful thing, and it is true. I know we don't have scores of police cars chasing us around trying to stop us doing what God has called us to do, but you read Romans 8 with if God is for us, who can be against us? And I really do get a sense of that from the Blues Brothers. I laugh quite a lot while I'm picking up that sense, but that's a sense I'd like to take from that film, alongside a lot of laughing and taking it with a little pinch of salt, because they are being very silly with the way they do it.
There's an interesting, well, I don't know if it's fair of me to say that, but overtones of Sister Act as well, like your pleasure in that, you know, it's sort of like there's a secular perspective on something that's a bit, you know, religious as well, and then all the fun that comes out of that, and it's the two interacting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's exactly that. I think there's really gritty kind of perspectives of the church that you get when you watch some stuff from outside, which is thoroughly insightful and somewhat depressing at times. But actually, to see what they think of us when they're being playful, and I enjoy that. I think playfulness is really important, and I'd like to interact with the outside world in a playful way sometimes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, interestingly enough, somehow the Blues Brothers evaded me. I do remember my cousin and her husband coming to a fancy dress party dressed up as them, and I was very cross that I hadn't watched it. But anyway, if it's on Netflix, I can watch it now.
I would always say, having raved about, tried to pull some theology out of it, the real strength is the music. They've got Aretha Franklin in it, and all the kind of real hardcore celebrities of blues in the 70s, 80s. So if you like your blues, you should definitely give it a go.
Well, I think that was my cousin's husband. You know, he was saying, Jill, you have to watch it for the music, if for nothing else. You know, good. But I didn't watch it. Life passed me by. So anyway, you've inspired me. Okay, we'll leave it there then, shall we?
Okay.
Just say happy weekend, happy Saturday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us, and see you again next week. So goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.